All right, and we're live. Good, good, good. Thank you for everybody for dropping in. Whoever's in here, thank you. On your way in, please hit that like button. Help me out here. Get me boost that algorithm. My subscribers are growing. My content's become more visible. Obviously, from the help of Joel, my partner in crime. I usually partner on these live streams. Who's doing my editing and all my posting now? He's doing a great job. So, yeah, YouTube likes that in the algorithms. Help boost it. Getting likes, getting feedback. So, today, as you can see, I'm flying solo. Joel and I, we're going to be doing every other Wednesday. I don't remember the clever name he had for Wednesdays, but we're just going to go to Proud Masculines Live Wednesday. Nothing fancy. Keep it simple. But I do have a topic, and it's something that I've thought about, and it's something that's been a huge part of my life and my success in life. All through the years, it wasn't until, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe that I really paid attention to and realized what that was, what I was even doing, like what the characteristic was. And it was persistence. And there's persistence. Persistence is this is your building blocks for success. One of them is persistence. Persistence, determination, discipline. Obviously, persistence is rooted in discipline. And talent's good. It's good that you have a natural, a God-gifted talent. If you have a proclivity where you gravitate towards something and you do it well and it comes a little easier to you than most, and that's great, but it's not it. Think of the common phrase, wasted talent. Nothing sadder than wasted talent. Happens all the time. So talent is good, but you'll find oftentimes that people with talent rest on their laurels and they don't try as hard. Hard work, persistence will always outperform talent in the long run. Always. So what I see a huge thing, a huge problem is that people I know, and I see it now, it seems maybe because I'm aware that it's a little more glaring, it's a little more obvious to me that the lack of success is due to a lack of persistence. Being able to persist, to continue on, even when things are hard. That the first sight of a struggle or adversity, like starting up a business, you're not doing well after the first few months, people give up. I see it in martial arts all the time, and jiu-jitsu. People come, they just don't look like they're getting it, but they never stick it out. They never stick it out. They never give time for the development of anything, to even learn anything. Maybe that has something to do with society today, that, with social media and all this instant dopamine that we get from so many different sources through technology, that maybe people don't even comprehend the value of persistence anymore because they can get so many other things and so much more satisfaction instantly. Social media, video games, the food, you want to feel good, do some drugs, take a drink, smoke some weed, eat some sugary processed food, get on social media, get some likes, get some validation. That's all feel good, but that's not persistence. Persistence is being able to continue to move forward through adversity. So yeah, talent's good, but you don't need it. You can learn through persistence. Perseverance is where you learn. You're going to learn from your failures. You're going to learn through those hard times. That's where you learn the most. That's the most valuable lessons in our failures and mistakes. Trust me, I made a lot of them. And I've learned from every one of them. Now, what you don't want to do is keep repeating the mistakes. Then you're not learning. Then you're just making bad choices at this point. But then you have genius. How many intelligent people do you know that are unsuccessful? Like super genuinely intelligent people living mediocre lives. It's a lack of persistence. Genius is not the answer. Again, like talent, it's an advantage. But if you're not applying it, it doesn't mean shit. It's more of a hindrance. You know, it's interesting. I was reading something from a social media platform, and they have a guy who's tested into this. I forget exactly the scenario, but he was tested into this school for high IQ, and he tested at 160. I mean, that's like top tier elite. And, you know, but this guy has a presence, and he's obviously used his gift to build something and create something for himself. I wish I could remember his name. I'd plug him. And all two people watching would know about it. So, and I don't care. I don't care if only two people. I don't care if one person comes in here. I'm going to be in here. That's persistence. My persistence with this brand. The reason my brand isn't further along is because I failed to persist. Now, I have a lot of other things going on, but in the beginning, you know, I was wide open about it. And, you know, other things started happening. It became less of a priority, keeping up with the posting and the content and the YouTubes. And, you know, eventually it fell off. So this is what I got 5 years later. And that's okay. You know, because there's other things I'll get into that are going well for me. But yeah, genius. Think about the cliche, unrecognized genius. You know, think about how many people you've met like this, like super intelligent people where you thought, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, you could be education. It's not always the answer. I do believe that education plays an important role if it's directed to a designated field or a designated purpose. Yeah. But think about now, especially today in society, how many educated morons there are. Just because you have an education does not mean you're intelligent. It just means you know something out of a book. It means you understand a certain subject. And it doesn't even mean you can apply it. And I find pretentious, like some of these educated people are so pretentious. They think their shit don't stink. It's because they have an education, because they have a degree or degrees. And it's all it is an ego. It's something that they're defined by as their education, their degrees, their titles. But it means nothing because they're absolute morons. They're clueless about life, clueless about application. And I've met a lot of people like this in my life who can discuss one subject semi-intelligently. And I don't mean intelligently because there's no original thought, no original ideas. There's no originality. It's all rehearsed and parroted. What is that? How is that going to benefit you? Other than giving you this inflated sense of self-worth. And it's not what we want. So persistence. I mean, you want to make it. Persistence and determination trump all of this stuff. When you have a determined man, there's nothing that can stop him. There's nothing can stop you when you're fiercely determined and persistent and pursuing whatever it is you're going after. You can't be stopped. And that's the truth. You know, persistence, like I said already, is rooted in discipline. And it requires discipline because you have to persist even when you don't feel like it. So last year, I started a business coming up on 2 years now. And it's something that has been tugging at me for life. And if you know a little bit of my story, you'll know my past. And I went and got a degree. I went to corporate America. And I was miserable. But before that, I started in construction at 16 years old. And I actually started sweeping. I was the job site sweeper. I was the gopher. I was the guy who handed people shit, kept the job site clean and organized, unpacked and packed up every day. Every day, that's what I did. And I was so enthusiastic about that. I loved that job. And, over a period of time, I started getting invited to do things with the different crafts, like helping with framing up walls and closets and, building door headers and, different kind of walls and cutting rafters and joists and studs. And then it started like that. I was just saying, then it wasn't long before I could do the basics by myself. Then it came to like the next phase of, I got a little bit into the roughing in electrician and plumbing, not too much in depth. I'm not a plumber or electrician by any means, but I got to participate. I got to get my hands on some stuff. And, over time, going through job after job from the start to the finish, like I got to know the job sites so well by sweeping. I got to hear everything that was talked about. I got to see the conversation, see the meetings and hear the conversations and see the work getting done and put my hands on and hand stuff. I knew what tools were by the time I came to use them because I'd had to fetch them so many times. I knew exactly where every tool was because I was the one who unpacked and packed it up, packed the job up every day. So you see, and it was just over time, and gradually I get a little pay increase, not much at the time. I started out at $5 an hour. That was like the gold mine to me back then. 16 years old, $5 an hour. What? So, yeah, 200 a week. Then, so, as time went on, I went into a different field. I had a lot of interference when I was young, in trouble a lot, all the time. Drugs, alcohol, in and out of jail. Then, I made a decision that I would have to do something different. Like I didn't want this life anymore. So, eventually at 23, I married young. And I had to do something more to provide for a family. And, I took on a big role, a big responsibility being married, being a husband. Now I'm a husband. So, and this is where this was my own fault. Had I stuck with what I was doing, and so my dream was to own my own construction company, that I was going to be the guy. I was going to be, because I love the work. I love building things. I love taking them apart, putting them back together. I like starting fresh. I like conceptualizing. I love seeing the process unfold and thinking that was the right thing to do to be a provider and be a better provider. P-Dubs, look at him. Always in here, loyal. Salute, brother. Hit that like button, please, if you haven't already. So, as time went on, I got to a point where, like I said, I had to make a decision. I went through a different career field that immediately started me out with more money. And I was an iron worker. I remember switching to that occupation. I was scared as shit of heights. But for the money, I lied at the job interview and told them, oh, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. But I was pretty smart. I'm a smart dude. I could pick up on shit quick, especially when it comes to building and learning the processes of things. I can pick up on it quick like that. So I just told them I knew how to do everything. And I did some research on what tools I needed for an iron worker. So I went and bought a bunch of tools. And first day on the job, like hop up there, we're gonna start connecting. And I was just going with the flow. And the boss called connectors. Let's gather up over here. And so I just followed where the connectors went. And, we had a quick job site meeting, and they had this one guy, and they're like, yeah, Ryan, you take the new guy. And these, iron workers are some tough motherfuckers. It's like the bad boys of construction. When you're up there, you got to be strong. You got to be nimble. Like the rebels of construction, not like the electricians. No offense, electricians, but y'all are soft. And so, yeah, they say, get up, hop up on the first floor. And I'm looking, I'm like, what floor? It was a series of columns, upright columns that were 4 stories tall. We're putting up a building inside of a refinery. So the guy jumps on this column and starts monkeying up. Back then, you didn't need to wear a safety harness for fall protection. Now it's mandated by OSHA. But when I started, you didn't need that. And I wanted it. But I wasn't daring to say it. So the guy's like, come on, we'll start over here. You get over here, I'm going to get on the other side. And the dudes fly these big-ass beams up on a crane with a choker in the middle balancing, fly it over. And one guy would grab it, put a spud wrench on it, fly the other side with the crane. You flag the crane into you, and then you put 2 bolts in it, hand tight. Not even hand tight. You leave them loose so the structure can move and you could fit all these pieces together. It's like an erector set, but in real life. And so I get up there and I'm watching this guy climb, like he's monkeying up the beams. We call it monkeying up. You're basically climbing these columns. 2 hands, and you climb it like a ladder. You put your foot in the web of the column, and you use that to hold yourself. And that's your push and pull, like you're climbing a ladder, but there's no rungs. And I'm watching this dude scurry on up, and I'm like, holy shit. And there's no way to hang on. I mean, you're just up there holding on until the beam gets up there, and you got something to sit on. And they fly the beam, and I was scared, out of my mind scared. But I did it. And anyway, I advanced in that career, and I became a superintendent in about 4 years. I was superintendent running job sites. And I had a crew. Obviously, I overcame my fear of heights because we would do cell phone towers, which was 420 feet tall, parking garages, skyscraper buildings, office buildings. Usually, the average building was like 6 stories. Then, so fast forward, I'd gotten injured in a bike accident, mangled my foot all up. I had to get reconstructive surgery on my back. Obviously, coming out of that, I couldn't do this work anymore. But it's the tug to always want to go back and have my own business. Just was always on my mind, always in the back of my mind. But I would always talk myself out of it. And if you knew anything more about me, I didn't have the greatest childhood. I grew up a little dysfunctional, not a little, I'm minimizing. I grew up dysfunctional. There was a lot of dysfunction in my family and in my childhood that, I just didn't believe in myself enough to think that I could even do that, even though that's what I was striving for at a young age. And I got injured, so that's when I went to college. After I got out of the hospital, and Hurricane Katrina hit, lost everything, lost my house, lost everything. We left town with what we had stuffed in the car. For some reason, I just had the sense to grab all of my clothes. And we had evacuated dozens of times growing up. From hurricanes, you come home, there's no damage, there's nothing. I was just something eerie about this one. My son was about 1, and we couldn't risk staying because I almost did. I said, you know what? He's 1. The wife's going to need help. I got to drive. We have to evacuate. And evacuating and hurricane evacuation traffic was, we'd go up to Texas, which on a regular day is about 5.5, 6 hours. It would take about 14 to 16 hours because traffic was just so dense. Everybody's trying to get the hell out of there. And anyway, we came back to Louisiana. We lived in Colorado for a little while. We came back. And through all of this, I still had this in the little voice. Like I still had something pulling at me to go do this. And so we went to Colorado then, and that was a little weird. I mean, we had a lot going on. Like we were trying to fight to get our house fixed. Insurance wasn't paying. We lost everything. Our house was underwater. We had 9 feet of water. A big flood. It was a tidal surge. It was a mess. Where I lived, everybody hears about New Orleans. I lived on a bordering parish. In Louisiana, we have parishes. We don't have counties. So Orleans Parish borders where I'm from, St. Bernard Parish. And St. Bernard got hit way worse than Orleans Parish. But Orleans is the popular place. Of course, a lot of the low-income people got the attention because they were left behind. And they don't tell you the whole story about that. But that got the attention. But where we were from was devastated. It looked like the drop of a nuclear bomb. I'm not shitting. Like it was just devastation. Houses where the tidal surge came in over this. We had this flood wall that was built from a hurricane that was in 1969. So they based the flood elevation was based on the storm that hit in 1969, Hurricane Betsy. This tidal surge dwarfed that. I mean, it came, I think they said it was 40 to 80 feet higher than the top of the existing floodplain. And this water's some bad shit. That's a force of nature. And where it hit, it came over this flood wall, this levee and a flood wall, and it hit houses. And it literally blew holes through the houses. Like you could see archways punched through where the water just punched through it. Took some houses, took them off the foundation, moved cars. You had cars on top of houses. I mean, it just looked like a bomb went off. And so we got tied up in doing that. And, there was a program offered because a lot of people, like 80% of the people, wasn't insured properly because they were not prepared for a disaster like this. You got your insurance based on historic data, which was Hurricane Betsy, which was flooding here and there. We didn't even live in a flood zone where they required you to have flood insurance then. And my house wound up 10 feet underwater. Just the very top of the apex was sticking out of the water. We saw pictures from helicopters. And so, we got back. I started working in Texas. There was this, a millionaire who we wound up shacking up with him. He had this enormous house, like 12,000 square feet. It had like a wing, an upstairs wing of the house where it was almost like a little apartment. And it was a friend of a relative we were staying at. And you're like, hey, and you got to figure we had families. I think we had 23 people jammed up in one house. That got old quick. And so we stayed with him, started a little business. And he asked me, he's like, look, I'm going to go to Louisiana and do remediation. Would you be interested? I'll let you run the thing. I'll buy all the equipment. He did. Within a week's time, he had trucks, equipment, and we were caravanning 2 weeks later from the night we sat down and talked about it. That didn't last too long. That's when we moved to Colorado, came back. The grant money came through. So they did the program for people who wasn't insured to rebuild your house. It had a cap, but it gave us just about enough to rebuild our house. And at the time, they had these missionaries, these volunteer churches coming out, gutting houses because there was nothing salvageable in 95% of the whole parish. Nothing was salvageable. So you got to figure every home had to be gutted. Some homes would be on repair. They would just crumble. And if you didn't have insurance, SOL, buddy. That was just the way it was. They'll give you the grant money, but you ain't rebuilding a house for $150,000 from the ground up. But so you still had the skeleton, and they had these missionaries and church groups that come from all over the country, which is amazing because what these people did for the people who were affected by this hurricane, is worth the tune of probably hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm not exaggerating. These people, come together in God's name to help people like us who didn't have what we needed. And they just went around, they had a list. They'd call you and say, hey, we're going to gut your house. And you can meet them there. Maybe like there was a few things that miraculously stayed dry that you were able to salvage, but you had to be careful going through the properties because, not only was humans hadn't been around in months, all that water, it's Louisiana, southern Louisiana, where I'm from. It's swamps, marsh, woods. You had animals everywhere. Raccoons living in your house now, snakes, a lot of snakes. Snakes were everywhere. You go coming out your backyard and you go through your neighborhood and there's an alligator, big ass, 10-foot alligator, walking through the backyard. Yeah, it was like that. Because nobody was there. It was desolate. It was in ruins. So fast forward, we did that whole process, and I was messing up here and there, but I wound up going to school. Told the wife, look, we moved back in because we had FEMA trails. FEMA would bring you travel trails out there, which was, it's crazy because I see these white trailers that, people, because at the end of the FEMA program, FEMA was like basically giving these things away. You could buy them at auction and get them for nothing. They had people who bought them, use them for hunting camps, or because this was just bare ass, simple ass white aluminum travel trailers. I think they were 19 to 24 foot. Like it was nothing fancy, small ass travel trailers. I mean, that's how everybody lived. They had these colonies. And you could either put it front of your house, or if there was an opening in the FEMA community, FEMA trailer community, you get that. It was a crazy experience. That set people back for, 5 to 10 years of their life. And that's no bullshit. I'm here to tell you that's true. So we got back in. I went to school, got a degree. And you remember, I had this injury that happened the year of Katrina. By the time it was all said and done, we moved in 3 years later. That's how long it took for everything. Crazy time. And but this is a severe injury. This wasn't just like I was in a cast. Like I had 12 surgeries for 2 months straight. It seemed like I was getting surgeries every other day. Obviously, that's an exaggeration because 2 months is 60 days. I got 12 surgeries. So, but some surgeries were a day under, up a day, back under, up a day, then a little bit of a gap, then back under. And it was a process to rebuild this leg and regrow the muscle and all. It was crazy. Reconstructive surgery, plastic surgery, muscle graft, intense. Matter of fact, my foot was a case study in the medical books. No bullshit. Signed off on it. Well, so fast forward, I go to college and get a degree. Went into my chosen career field, applied sciences, process technology. Got a job in oil and gas. Money was great, rolling in it, but I hated it. And I remember we had the refinery itself, like a little community, and you have the trades, electricians, the fitters, the hard trades, machinists, millwrights. These were the guys who did the hands-on work. We were operators. We were on like the process side, refining crude oil into different products, kerosene, diesel, gasoline, all the cuts of hydrocarbons that come from crude oil, which is a lot of shit. So that, and through the years, and some of my backstory, a lot of people know, who've been following me, know about the red pill time. When I came across a red pill after years of a shaky marriage, and I'm being so proper. It wasn't shaky. It was fucked up, dysfunctional. And I hit a rough patch at the end of that marriage. I wound up moving out, and things got crazy. I went through a very dark time. Wound up losing my job right at COVID. I lost my job. I was gone, no going back, and I didn't take that very well. My whole identity was wrapped up in this job. That's all it was. That's all it was around my home was a paycheck. I mean, my son, obviously, I'm his father, but I work so much. I work 1,200 hours of overtime a year on top of my regular scheduled days, which in a refinery is 42 hours per week. So I'd work an additional 1,200 hours a year. I did that for about 6 years straight. So I was never home. I worked, made a ton of money, but I was never home. And I found my identity and value in this position. And, in the refinery, I was excelling, doing well. And I'd wound up getting promotions and being involved in projects. And that's what I really like, to be in the mix. Like, I love that. I love to create. That's why I do this. Create and help. Be of service. So I went into a downward spiral. It was awful. I learned a lot, though. I learned a lot. I can look back on my life, and I have regrets. I hear people say, "Oh, I don't regret it made me the man I am." I have regrets. I don't know what the fuck you want me to say. I wouldn't undo some of the shit that I've done in my life. And anyhow, kind of stumbled around a little bit trying to get in other refineries, and getting into these refineries is daunting. It's a very tedious, hard qualification process. I mean, you go through months and months and months to get hired on at a place. I mean, you start off with an online resume, and you get invited to test out of a pool of thousands of people. I'll say thousands. It's typically from 1,200 to, and this is like a big refinery where you do well. Marathon, Shell, Exxon, the big names in oil and gas here. But that's where you wanted to land. That's where the packages were. That's where the best pay was. And so I tried getting back into the mix. So I would go to these smaller refineries. We call them feeders. That's where they do a lot of hiring from the feeder refineries, because they want to hire you on with some experience. Now, I originally got on. I ain't going to get into that because I'm kind of over talking, over explaining what I'm about to get to anyway. But I'd gotten on with a feeder refinery. About a year before that, I'd applied for a big chemical plant, and I got a call back. Come and interview. Let's see what you got. Went in. I had my job. I interviewed well when I had a job because I didn't care. I was relaxed, composed. I didn't come across as try hard. I was just like, yeah, I'm the guy you need. Take it or leave it. Something like that. Obviously not with that kind of arrogance, but that was what I was feeling like. Look, I got a job. You need me. And I got the job. And it was a huge jump in pay. Their starting pay was the top pay for where I was working. That's what I would start at. Even more than the top pay, honestly. And so it was huge. And I was relieved. And I'd just gotten into a thing with somebody, a relationship. And during the training, it's also a rigorous training hired on. There's this weeks-long orientation and training that you do to get familiar with the site operations. Because even though there's commonalities in refining crude oil, each site has different procedures and safety measures, and it's a environmental, like you had to learn all the different aspects, at least a base knowledge of before you could start. Then they'd go from that, from an overview, into a more targeted, like what unit you were going to go on, get you some training there, and then you would be put into the refinery for more training on site in the unit where you would learn your job. Then you have another panel that you sit in front of to qualify yourself as a full-fledged operator. Then it takes about 4 months. before you even start at the position you're hired on for. 4 months from the day you accept your offer. So I was stoked, I was in it. I was like, finally, I got my way back in. I'm back. I'm going to be back in six figures. I was in six figures with the feeder refinery, but it was like, I think everything was like 110 a year. These places jump up. So I was relieved. And this was what was that second wave of COVID that hit? I don't remember. If anybody knows, drop it in the comments. It was like the second coming of COVID. I don't know. COVID had died down, but they still had this nonsense going on. And so after that, I'd started the training. I had the COVID thing, and I'd gone on a trip to Miami. And I had gotten an ear infection before that. And it was halfway treated, but I came back feeling like shit. And I didn't say anything because it was healing, but I wasn't out of the woods. Well, pushing it too much, I kind of relapsed. And so I'm sitting in the safety phase of the training. And I remember I'd gone and eaten lunch, and I came back and it just hit me. Like the fever came, I got achy. And my head's falling, and I'm ducking. I'm trying my hardest to stay up, but I was just hurting. You hear me? And I don't want to say anything because, look, I'm the new guy. I've been training. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one that says, I'm sick. I just sucked it up. I've done it before. I've worked sick, like with pneumonia and shit. So I can do it. I'm not going to be at my best, but I can do it. I can still have a job well done. We were going over safety stuff. And it was a lot about rescue and all. And I was on a rescue team. I was on a rescue, medical, and fire team at the other refinery because I love that shit too. I'm a junkie for that kind of adrenaline-oriented activity. So, these things are amazing. Spindrift. X turned me on to them. Great choice. Thank you very much. I've been drinking them ever since. So, the safety guy kind of saw me out the corner of his eye because we were watching. You'd have to watch these videos, then test. Watch a video, then test. Watch a video, then test. You do that all day for like 3 days. Then you take a final test on the third day. It's about a 200-question test. And they kind of walk you through it and tell you the answers and shit. And you go over it while you're testing, and it's just formality. But so I get the test, comes time to take the test, and the safety coordinator was at his desk, and you could see the table with the monitor. He had this big monitor on the wall, and he noticed I wasn't looking too hot. I was wearing it. I couldn't hide it. Sweating, just pale. I looked fucked up because I felt like I've been hit by a truck. And this is when that new wave of Kenny Rogers flu came through. And the rule was, if you run in fever or have any of these symptoms, call, stay home for 5 days, then go get tested. And you had to stay home 5 days from the onset of symptoms. Well, like I said, I was legging it out with the ear infection. That hit me in the middle of the day after lunch. This is about 2 hours after lunch. And he's like, man, you don't look too hot. I'm like, I'm all right. He goes, no. He said, I'm watching. Like, you're not doing too well. He said, you're sweating profusely. He said, you okay? Is something wrong? I said, no, I'm good. I'm good. And he put his hand on my shoulder and then put his hand up against my head. And he said, you are burning up. It's like, yeah, I got to ear. And then he backs up. This dude was a prick. One of these antsy ass bitch boys. Like, he starts backing up. And he's like, do you have a mask? I'm like, no, I don't have a mask. He goes by his desk, throws a mask on, picks up the phone, calls human resources on me. He's like, I said, wait. It's an ear infection. Let's not overreact. He's like, did you report this? Did you say something? Da, da, da. I said, no. And he goes, well, look. And this dude wouldn't come anywhere near me now. He's social distancing me. Very dramatic and overreacting. It all boils down to I got sent home for the day to go get tested. It was like a leper walking out of the building. Like people at the desk with their mask on and like, don't get me your cooties. So I leave there, go get tested. I didn't have the beer flu. I had an ear infection, just like I said I had. It had just progressed. It had gotten worse. It didn't fully heal. And it was painful. So I called right away. I went straight to the clinic from the building. I called the process manager, my boss. I said, yo, I'm fine. I have an ear infection. I got a doctor's note. It's like, cool. Somebody from Human Resources is going to call you. Cool. Thanks. Rest up. Will do. Went and got me some pho. That's what I always do when I'm sick. Can't beat that pho. Oh, Dubs, you have no idea. He was a company man, yes man. You know, everything he did was, and that's all he did was brag about how long he's been there, how he worked himself up. He's a suck ass is what he is. So the Human Resources calls me later that day after I had my nice warm combination pho. It's just Vietnamese soup. Is delicious. And it works magic for sick when you're sick. It's like a magic potion. And so I eat that. A little while later, I'm relaxing. I think I'd taken my girlfriend had actually brought me some medicine and stuff. And I was maxing and relaxing because I was wiped out. I really was. That little ear infection was whipping my ass. So I had my ears throbbing, sick. I had fever, tired, chills. You know what it's like. Human Resources called and said, hey, what's up? I said, not much. Chilling, getting well. So she said, okay, well, you got to stay home for 5 days. You're going to be paid, so don't worry about that. And she's like, did you know this? I said, well, I didn't feel bad when I came in. It didn't hit me till after lunch, da-da-da. And I said, and I'm new. I don't want to be that guy. And she's like, no, well, we'd much rather know. And sometimes they tell you that shit because they have to. I really don't think they want to hear you fucking complaining. Well, so, and then she said, well, when did these symptoms start? I said, well, the ear infection I actually had gotten in November. I said, and it had a relapse. I thought it was on its way to heal, and it never did heal all the way. I did a cycle of antibiotics. And this was January. So she's like, okay, well, it's you stay home 5 days from the symptoms. And today it was a Thursday. So we only had one more day, and I would have had the weekend anyway. So she's like, just stay home. We're going to pay you. See you Monday. So fine. Monday I go back, picked up where I left off. Still felt a little crappy, but that's not going to stop somebody like me. And went on with it. Well, I completed all my training, got my packet signed up on, because you got a packet about that thick from all the departments. And every department head signs off that you've going down your checklist and checked all the topics and through the procedures and all that fun shit. Well, my start date was I went into the process manager. Congratulations, you start full time. Your new schedule, you're going to start Friday, so you get a couple days off. And welcome to the company. Glad to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. You won't be disappointed because I put out in many ways. So we, my girl and I were actually excited about that. I was excited. She was happy for me. Because that was a great opportunity. It would have propelled me forward like rapidly. In the first year, I would have been, situated back right again, living good. And well, we're home. The next day, we're at my place. We had actually gone out to the lake, hung out for the day. We used to go to our little spot out on the lake, and we did a little workout. We had a good time. We loved spending time together. And we got home. It was time for a nap. While napping, and I get a call. It's a process manager telling me I'm fired. I'm being terminated because I did not report my symptoms. This dude laid into me. He's like, you have no concern for safety. You don't care what anybody. I mean, I'm like, whoa. I said, that must be a misunderstanding. Like, it was an ear infection. I knew that. I told him that. I said, I believe he overreacted. He's like, well, that's not your distinction to make. You were given specific orders to sign in ahead of time and make aware of your symptoms. You're supposed to stay home, call in, report your symptoms, and go get tested. And stay home 5 days. And you totally disregarded our COVID policy. So we are terminating your hiring process. What? I lost my fucking job and I didn't even start yet. Talk about hard to, man, that was like a kick in the fucking dick 10 times. And then, I had to go in the room and tell my girl, like, look, I'm no longer employed. Now, I tell you all this now. I don't even know why I even began to tell you all this. I could have made a way shorter point of this. But anyway, I already said it. And going back, in hindsight, everything happened and worked out for a reason. Everything happens in God's time. We may not know it's a blessing in disguise when we're going through it because it sucks. Anybody getting rejected, fired, that hurts. That sucks. That's not good for the mental well-being. But fast forward, when I hit the fucking streets again looking for a job, and it wasn't happening. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with this, do with that. And, my lady's giving me some ideas, or maybe you try. I'm like, you know what? What happened? Oh yeah. No. Something happened where I went and did a minor thing at somebody's house because they didn't know how to do it. And I was like, yeah, I'll come look at it. Fix it up. You're like, wow, you know how to do that kind of stuff? I'm like, yeah. I thought everybody knew like how to do shit like that. It's like, man, that's a huge demand for, guys who know how to do it. And I was working with a guy I still work with. I go once a month, life coach / therapist / guy who helps me organize and plan. I started off as in therapy with him once a week, and he had rental property, but because it was a conflict of interest, he couldn't hire me to do the work, and so we just get to, jawing about different things during the sessions, and he's telling me about the stuff he's doing around his place. He's like, man, I'm doing a sheetrock. I'm like, well, are you doing this? So you just let me see some pictures? And I'm like, yeah, well, you got to put this here. No, you do this first, then you come back and do this, then you do it. And he's like, do you know how to do this shit? I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, do you know there's a huge demand for this? So it started out as a handyman. And I'm like, if I'm doing it, I'm going big or going home. I don't do anything small. And I pride myself on that. I believe that's a strength of mine. Quality. Yeah, mostly. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I had some business cards made. My lady had helped me with some things and given me some good direction because she'd opened her own business at one point. And obviously some of the stuff runs as commonalities in any business, that there's certain things logistically that need to be tended to. She helped me with that. And I got my first client a buddy of mine is a lawyer, owned a law firm, moved to a new building. Said, hey, man, we need a wall built, a door installed, AC duct moved, and all. Cool. Well, so I kind of took off with the handyman stuff. And, but it just wasn't, look, I did it because that's where I needed to start. And I slowly started acquiring tools, getting a little word of mouth. I have yet to advertise. All my work is from word of mouth. I never once had to put any advertising. I attempted to make a Facebook page, but I don't know how to do that shit. So it never did get fully published. And it turns out I didn't need to. I had business cards. And by the time I'd finish something, somebody else would call. Finish something, somebody else would call. And it just kind of worked like that. And my girl at the time was buying a house. So I did work on hers. It didn't turn out well. I would have done it differently. But, you know, I started getting the feel of it. Well, her and I had broken up. Then, you know, I continued on. Well, I had a year from hell. I was losing every job I took, I'd lose. And this is the mentality of lack, that I would bid these jobs afraid to lose them. So I was bidden to not lose. I wasn't bidden to win. Scarcity mentality, scarcity mindset. Like I said, I'm looking back in hindsight, is always 2020. You can always connect the dots looking back at certain things. Well, I'll tell you what, it started going so bad, I was considering, like, this ain't for me. This ain't working out. And it was something that just said, no, you got to keep going. Keep pushing, keep pushing. And I did. Persevered. I was like paying rent late, paying car late, struggling, living less than check to check. I'd bid on a job and the money was spent already, like that fast. I have to go get work just to get deposits to pay for what I needed to finish, and, you know, a little bit of bills, and then go hurry up and jump on that job and go get another job and take a little draw from that. You know, it was tough, man. It was a tough year. And I think it aged me a little bit. But now it's not like that. I persevered. I pushed. Persistence and determination. After I briefly considered, I'm not going to be able to see this through, I was like, what the fuck are you even saying, dude? Shut that shit up now. Like, you in it. There ain't no turning back. This is where we're going. Burn the ships. You know, you ever heard that? Burn the ships. They had the guy who conquered, and is that Alexander, I think? Oh, I wish I knew this better. I'm sure everybody's heard it. The army goes in on ships. The guy gets on shore and says, burn the ships. We here for keeps. Either we're going to win or we're going to die trying. And I love that. That gets me fired the fuck up. So I did. And once I made that decision, like, no, you ain't going. You ain't quitting, dude. This is what you've wanted to do since you were 16 years old. And I'm doing it. And it's getting better and better. And I'm making money now. I'm out of the red. I'm in the green. And I have a few other things I have my hands in. But I didn't give up. I didn't give up. I persevered when it looked like I would never be able to catch up. That I would not be able to get out of this hole. I'm talking one bad job after another. That's a defeating feeling when you work so fucking hard and you get nothing done. And at the end of the job, you lose. Oh, that's an awful feeling. And I had a big project I took on, and I'm so glad I finished it. Because when I step back and look how good of a job I did, that was like, yeah, you're going to be all right. We just need to get this bidding thing down a little better. And it was a good life experience. It was a good lesson. there was a very, very teachable moment in these failures. And if you pay attention, you can learn something from everything in life. A loss is only a loss if you stop there. It's only a failure if you stop there. Then you're a failure. Because I have not yet to meet anybody who is successful, because I have a mentor in this business as well. Get mentors. I have a mentor who went through the same thing I did. And thank God I had somebody there to tell me that. Like, nope, keep pushing, it'll get better. And he would laugh at me when I tell him, dude, I lost another job. I remember those days. He'd laugh at me. I'm like, what is this motherfucker laughing at? But he knew. And that's why there's so few people who make it and have successful businesses. Not because they can't, because they quit. And that's anything in life. When you want to, say you want to learn martial arts, you want to learn some kind of combative martial art. It's tough. The quality is in the pain. The quality is in the tedious. The quality is in the repetitions and the boredom. That's persistence. You persist. You keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, even though it doesn't make sense and it doesn't feel like you're going anywhere and sliding back. Keep doing it. Because there's going to be a moment of clarity where everything makes sense. Of why it had to be that way. You want to get jacked, persist. You're not going to see results in 2 months. No, it takes months of hard work, dedication, eating, sleeping right, consistently training to get a result. But that's persistence. That's what persistence looks like. This is why people don't make it. It's not because they aren't talented, because they lack talent or genius or don't have the right education. They got no determination. They don't have grit. I see that. Anything that's quality and worth it in life, you're going to work for. You're trying to rebuild your own self, like I talk about in so many of my videos about leveling up. You had a bad experience, you had a bad breakup. It's in the persistent self-work. It doesn't come easily. I mean, you got to think the best you had got you right where you were. Best you had to offer got you in that fucking jam. Got you in that breakup. Got you in that debt. It's your best thinking. So what are you going to do? You're going to keep doing that. But guess what? If you want to change and improve, it takes work, self-work. And that's not easy because you got to face some demons. You must persist through the process. You got to have determination. You have to be determined and committed to the task because it's going to get hard. And it gets hard. And man, it gets hard when you got to go back in those dark places and mine up all this dysfunction and limiting subconscious beliefs and all these awful things you tell yourself, clear through all that wreckage and that mess. That's not fun going through that. But on the other side of it, it's indescribable of how rewarding that is. Just persist. You can't go wrong. You won't go wrong. Take it from me. I've been there. And this is what I tell my guys that I coach. Like, look, it's even my saying, and thanks Joel for that, because we were pitching some stuff about what to put in my YouTube. I'm telling you, I don't know how to do this shit. Like set up these social media pages and put the titles and the banners and whatever all shit needs to be done. Thank God for people like Joel. He rescued me. He's like, I'll take care of it. So we're kind of going over some things to put, because he used to have on my YouTube channel, my description was 1,000 subscribers. Because I don't know what I was filling out, but I thought it said, what is your goal, your target? And initially it was 1,000 subscribers, and then somehow it wound up in the description. So you're the proud masculine, my logo and then 1,000 subscribers. So, and I know people told me that needed to be changed, and I know it did. I just really didn't know how to get to it. So he gets to it, and he came up with this beautiful saying, and I tell people all this, but not directly like this. Thank you, money. I don't tell people directly like this, but there's a smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes. And thank God I have what I have today to be able to guide my son with this stuff, so he doesn't have to go through the shit that I went through to become who I am. Like, if people say, well, I don't regret it, baby, who I am. Would you want your kids to go through that? Then you regret it if you said no. I don't want my son going through the shit I went through. And I don't want to see any other man suffer in some of the ways I did. That's why I'm here. This is the whole reason I started this brand, is to help, to be of service. And I tell guys this all the time. I blazed that trail for you already, brother. You don't have to go lost through the jungle and hack your way through it, making mistake after mistake, taking the wrong turns, and, ending up on a ledge and ended up in the big river you can't cross. I can tell you, I can take you straight through. I already made the trail. I've been and done it. I've been in this jungle thousands of times. That's why I'm here. And I'm glad to be. And I thank God every day for it. Truly do. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. So when I talk about persistence, it's hard. I love that. I love the idea of being persistent, because I've done enough to experience the rewards of that. And it's so rewarding. I can't put it into words what it feels like to look back after you've committed yourself to something so hard and so long and figured your way through and learned your way through, and be able to look back and see how that led to success. You want confidence? I hear these guys talk about self-confidence. That's where confidence is earned. That's where confidence is bred. In the persistence and the hard moments and the overcoming and the failures and the disappointments and the heartbreaks and the mistakes made, the losing the money. That's where you build confidence, when you do it again. And you're able to come back bigger, faster, and stronger. And it's not a temporary or a cheap reward. It's deep. It becomes, you internalize that shit, and it's integrated into your being. Now you're that person for real. Nobody can touch that. Not only can nobody touch it, there's still more work to do, still more room to grow, still more improvements to be made. That fires me the fuck up. I'm telling you. I can't wait to get up in the morning now. I'm tired. I'm tired right now. I had just enough time. I worked all day, stopped and did an estimate. Worked out. I had to leave workout early, got my guys going. Swung by my boy's restaurant, wolfed a quick bite, came here, took a shower, now I'm here. Because I was really supposed to start at 8. I pushed it up to 8:15. And I am dog-ass tired. You hear me? But I couldn't wait to get here today, to get on this live stream. I can't wait to get up in the morning and do it again and wear myself out again. I live for this shit enthusiastically. I got a DM today from somebody who is going through a breakup. I'm not happy for him, but I'm like, yep, another motherfucker to save, another man to lead, to change his whole life, to change his world. He lives in a country with exchange rates high. I tried to work him out a deal. I don't know if he's going to take it or not. But don't come in here looking for deals. My shit ain't free. I've made it affordable enough for people. moments. I can't stand people coming and ask me for, well, I'm like, look, dude, if you're too cheap to invest in yourself, maybe you deserve to stay right where you are. Asking me to cut my prices to suit you when you want to do something to help yourself. It makes you think you're going to appreciate what I have to offer if I give it to you for free. You're going to waste it. Nothing's going to be done. So anyway, yeah, man, I live for those moments. I live to persist. I love a challenge. Better knock on wood. Watch what I say. I don't want challenges all the time, but I look forward to a good challenge. I love the grind. If you don't believe me, try it. And oh wow, look at this, we're an hour and 5 minutes. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I hope everybody enjoyed the stream. Thank you for coming in. Remember, hit that like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Come on, help a motherfucker out. Get my algorithm up, whatever that means. Get me in the algorithm, boost the algorithm, whatever. Get me some views, get me some subscribers. And no, sincerely, thank everybody for coming in. It means a lot to me. I would do this even if for one guy, but thank you everybody for taking the time to come in. If you got something out of it, hit that like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future videos. I'll see y'all next Wednesday. Peace.